Hello and welcome to the U.S. Immigration Bulletin. I hope you're doing well and staying healthy. My name is Gus Shehab. Today I'd like to talk to you about the process of applying for PERM labor certification. We'll make the process simple and easy to understand. So let's take a look.
Welcome again. So what we're doing today is to describe to you in a little bit of detail about the PERM labor certification process. Again, this is not to discuss the entire green card process based on PERM, which has 3 stages, namely the PERM application, the I-140, and the I-45. What we're doing today is to focus only on the PERM labor certification application. What are the steps that entail into preparing and filing a PERM application and how we do it in our law firm. So let's do it. Well, first of all, we have to remember that PERM labor certification applications are a piece of the employment-based process. So it is the immigration that is concerned with employment. And more specifically, the PERM application only applies to EB2 and EB3 preference petitions. Okay, so we have to remember that the EB1, which is the alien of extraordinary abilities, the outstanding professors and researchers, multinational executives, and also in some EB2 national interest waiver applications do not require a PERM, nor does the EB4 religious workers self-petition or EB5, the alien entrepreneur, which these are the investor visa petitions. They don't require a PERM. Only EB2 and EB3 require a PERM application. So here before you, you have the entire PERM process at a glance as we do it in our law firm. So I'm going to go ahead and go through it with you to describe all of the different steps that we take into making sure that we file a successful PERM application. The first thing that we do is we have an initial meeting with the employer and employee. This is extremely critical. I hear from some of my clients that they never heard from the attorney, that they basically only gave their documents to the employer and the employer was talking to the lawyer all the time. We do not do this in our firm that way. We engage with the employee to a great extent because we feel that the employee has most of the information that we need in order to have a successful PERM application. So I want to engage with the employee. I want to get the information. The second thing I want to say is that the PERM process is a partnership between the immigration lawyer and the foreign national in the company. So there's a 3-way partnership here, okay? The company facilitates the filing of the PERM and the registration process and the recruitment process and giving me the position description, okay? That's the job of the employer. The job of the employee is to provide me with a clear history of their employment and educational background and also what they bring in terms of skills to this particular job. All right, that's the job of the employee. The job of the lawyer is to take all of that information and optimize, and I use the word optimize because that's what we do. Okay, we don't want to go overboard with the requirements because that will then cause the case to be flagged. At the same time, going overboard with the requirements in an effort to eliminate U.S. workers will raise the wage beyond what the employer may be willing to pay. Okay, so my job always is to make sure that I get all that information from the employer and employee and blend it all together in a fashion that meets everybody's objectives. The employer wants to make sure that this employee remains in the country, and the employee wants to get a green card, and my job is to make sure that they both get what they want, okay, in an optimized fashion. So the second step is I tell the employer and employee to go to our online portal, and I'm not forgiving about this point, okay? I'm sorry, I apologize. I'm not forgiving about this point. You must go to the portal to put your information completely and accurately because that is my lifeline. That's what I look for the source of information for me to draft your application, all right? So I want you to go in and put your information in completely and don't leave a blank field. Same thing for the employer. The employer needs to go in, put in their tax identification number, a description about the company. So all that is in our portal. And one word about our portal. I've created a system to make sure to increase transparency between myself and all the parties connected to the PERM green card application process. Everything that I do, okay, there's a field that I populate so that you know what I did today on your case. And this presentation here I give to my clients so that they know what are the steps, what are the timelines, what are the steps that I am right now, because I put that in the field of the case process in my portal. And knowing what the next step is and the time that it takes to get to the next step, everybody's informed. Everybody's informed, and there's no guessing in this process, and there's no anxiety in this process. Okay, so this is the second step. Fill in your information. Give me the information. The third step is I give the employee a tool, I call it the skills chart. And this tool is intended for the employee to document in a spreadsheet, okay, what are the skills that they acquired from a prior employer and how they will use this skill in this new job or in the job that they have. Remember, the PERM application is not about your present job. The PERM application is about a future job. When the green card is ultimately approved, that is the job that we are looking at to design. That's the job that we're looking at to design, folks. Okay, so be mindful that the skills that you're going to give me and the position that we're designing is a future one. All right. Now, the skills that we're going to be using in this application is really your skills, but we're drafting an application in order to test the market. Okay, so it is using your skills because that's because you're one of the people that are also being considered for this job, right? Along with the public at large. So we have to remember that the skills that we will draft is about the minimum requirements for this job in a reasonable way to test the market, to make sure that no U.S. worker is qualified, willing, and able to occupy this position. Okay, so that's really important. So the skills chart is a tool that we use to acquire the skills that this foreign national has that they will bring to this future job. Once they give this information is given to us, all of the information on our portal by the employer-employee, the skills chart is given to us. Then we spend time to carefully analyze the credentials of the foreign national, to research the position description. This is a very important step in order to make sure that the Department of Labor analyst, when they look at this position, that they immediately recognize what it is. We cannot mix positions. I made another video about things to avoid in order for your PERM application not to be audited. I highly suggest that you review that. But what we want here, we want the U.S. Department of Labor analyst not to audit the case, not to deny the case, to immediately recognize that this is a civil engineering position or a mechanical engineering position or an architect position or an accounting position. That the list of duties are consistent with what is normally being done by one of these professionals. Okay, so that's my job, is to make sure that I review the position description, make sure that it hones immediately and it fits immediately with one of the recognizable Department of Labor position descriptions. Then I also do a prevailing wage analysis to make sure that the minimum requirements that we're asking for this position fits into what the Department of Labor expects. Okay, so we cannot go overboard with the minimum requirements. We have to put in the minimum requirement that is usually accepted for this position. An example is, a law clerk or an accounting clerk, right? An accounting clerk that does the payables and receivables. We cannot ask for PhD in accounting. That is unacceptable. It's unreasonable. So that's my job, is to analyze the credentials, research position description, make sure that the minimum requirements are reasonable, and the prevailing wage is also something that the employer will accept in the future. Okay, and that is more important, obviously, for folks that are non-Chinese and non-Indian nationals. because these individuals from those countries that are born in those countries have much longer waiting time due to the visa unavailabilities. But the other folks that are not Chinese or Indian born, they will get their green card in a matter of a couple of years, or less. So the wage that will be placed based on the combination of the position, minimum requirements, minimum educational requirements, minimum experience requirements, that will then set the wage, and we have to make sure that we optimize all of those in order to meet everybody's objective. Okay. The next step after this analysis period that we do, we in our firm produce a document called the case workshop. And the case workshop is a summation of everything that was given to us up front, up to this point. Okay, that's the case workshop. It is the foundational elements of your PERM application. All right. Then we submit that to the employer and to the employee for the review. And we invite them to give us input, and we explain to them why we've done certain things. Why did we not go with 5 years of experience? Why did we go with a master's degree? Why did we go with 1 year of experience? And that's all based on what the Department of Labor accepts as normal for this occupation. Now, once we reach consensus by all parties, that's it. The case workshop becomes the 10 commandments, basically. It cannot be changed from this point forward. All right. So any input that must be done, any changes, have to happen here at the case workshop stage, because then after the finalization of the position description and minimum requirement, we submit a formal application with the U.S. Department of Labor for the prevailing wages. Okay, so we have to submit that application. It's an online application, and currently this is September 2021. The current processing times are about 150 days, unfortunately, so it's a little bit lengthy. But once that comes back, then we engage into the recruitment campaign. The recruitment campaign is set by regulations exactly how to do them, where to put them, what elements should be listed in the language of the advertisement. All of that is set by regulations. I just want to stop here and mention one thing extremely important. You have to realize that the U.S. Department of Labor is not there to help this application. The U.S. Department's job is to protect the U.S. worker. Okay, so the reason why I have to mention this point is because the PERM application must be perfect. I don't expect anything less than perfection in order for the U.S. Department of Labor to believe that this employer has done its job in good faith to test the market to find out whether or not there are any U.S. workers that are qualified. And once we demonstrate to the U.S. Department of Labor officer that we've done the perfect job in testing the market, that the application does not include unreasonable requirements, that the application is reasonable in every way, that we did follow all the rules in testing the market and putting ads in the different places as required by regulations, we couldn't find anyone, the officer will approve the case. And I have to tell you that in my experience, 98% of my cases are approved because of the strict way that I do this process. Okay, so I just wanted to stop and tell you that don't think that the officer is there to help you or help your case. No, you have to go to an attorney or a lawyer who knows this area really, really well. All right, so now once the recruitment period is finished, we have to wait for something called the quiet period, which is 30 days by regulation. And the intent of the quiet period is to allow U.S. workers to apply, and also for the employer to evaluate the resumes to either disqualify the applicants on the face of the resume or to conduct telephonic interviews with the applicants and to disqualify them if we can. Okay, if we cannot, and that doesn't happen very often, by the way. In 99% of my cases, either we don't get to any resumes because in the manner in which I post the ads, also by compliance in the regulations, by the way. Okay, I comply with the regulations, but also we place the ads specifically to make sure that we minimize the risk. Okay. But any U.S. worker who is deemed not qualified, we have to document that carefully so that if the case is audited in the future, that we have proof that we followed all the regulations. So once this is done, the next step is to file the PERM application online. Excuse me. So now let's talk about the recruitment. What are the things that go into the recruitment process? So I want to use my highlighter here. The three things that we have to do: newspaper and SWA, alternative advertisements, internal notice. Okay, these three things must be done in order for us to prepare the recruitment campaign. As far as this process here, the regulations require us to publish 2 advertisements for professional occupations in a newspaper of general circulation in the area where the work is going to be done. Okay, two Sunday ads in a newspaper, basically the main newspaper in the city where the work site is located. Also, we have to post something called a job order. The job order, I don't know why this is on 2 lines here, is filed in the state workforce agency, and every state has a different name for that. Basically, this is the Department of Labor in the state. For instance, in Virginia, it's called something. In Ohio, they have a different name for that department. So that's why, generically speaking, it's called the State Workforce Agency in the 50 states. We have to post there in their job order for 30 days. And what is the job order? The job order is where unemployment compensation seekers, people who are receiving, U.S. workers who are receiving unemployment checks, they have to apply for jobs. Okay, so we have to post where they see the job and then they can apply for it. Okay. Now, one small point about that: the SWA, the state workforce agencies, once you post there, they'll send you 20 resumes immediately, and all of those they call them the match, people that are matching. I don't want you to be concerned about that, because we don't have to consider anything that is sent to the employer by the SWA that are matched. Okay, we only have to consider those applicants that have actively applied, people who actually applied, not what the State Department of Labor sent to you as the employer, these matching resumes. Okay. Now let's talk about the alternative advertisement. We must choose 3 from 10 allowable recruitment methods, and they're listed here. Okay, we have to choose 3. Now, the ones that I normally like to choose is the employer website, or we also use the employer referral program, depending on the employer. We almost always use the local or ethnic paper. The local paper, we use that. We use also radio, television, and the job search website. Now, the job search website is not usually Career or Monster. There's a specific job search website that we use. It's called America's Job Exchange, which is not frequently used for job searches, but it is allowed by regulation, so we use that quite a bit. So those are the 3 things, some of the 3 things that we would choose from. We can do a trade journal also. Okay. So those are the 3. We have to choose 3 from these 10 in order for us to comply with the regulations. And then finally, internal notice has to be posted at the work site for 10 consecutive business days. Sometimes my clients miss that. Business days, not including Saturday, Sundays, or holidays. Okay, 10 consecutive business days. Okay. So once you have done the recruitment and the quiet period has elapsed and no one is qualified for the job, or anybody who applied is disqualified, then we're ready to file the PERM application online. So now let's talk about some processing times. So the pre-perm preparation stage that we just described usually takes about 5 to 6 months. And that's because of the intervening step here with the Department of Labor. It takes about 150 days here, so that's very time consuming, plus 30 days of recruitment and 30 days of this quiet period, plus whatever it takes to get through this process here. You can see easily it will take 5 to 6 months. The U.S. Department of Labor processing will take 5 months for sure. Okay, right now. So you can see that the perm can be done in about a year. So this is a tentative sort of a flow of how the perm process will go in our case. Again, everything that you see, all the steps are coded in our portal so that our clients are well informed about the steps that are, where they are in the process, what's the next step, and so forth. So from perm presentation to case workshop finalization, usually 7 days. From the case workshop finalization to applying for the prevailing wage is 2 days. Then from the prevailing wage to the recruitment period, to the beginning of the recruitment, depending on how long the prevailing wage will take, usually 150 days. Once the recruitment is done in 30 days, then the quiet period is 30 days, right? Then the perm is filed. This is just kind of a visual that tells you when can you, the earliest time, the earliest date that you can file, assuming that you finished all of the prevailing wage and everything is done, is the closing date of the SWA plus 30 days. That's the earliest that you can file. Earliest that you can file. The latest filing date is the date of the first ad plus 180 days. So you have to file between those two. Okay, you have to file between those two dates. With this, I conclude my presentation of how to best process a perm application. I hope you found this video to be useful, and I look forward to your comments and questions below. And please don't forget to share and like this video, and I look forward to seeing you again in the future.